Good afternoon, everyone, or good evening, depending on where you are.
What part of the world? Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. My name is Christina.
I'm Serena.
And we are the founders of the company.
Turn this right
Teachers Who Take Passion for Learning. Welcome to our webinar. Energy.
Do you want me to finish it?
Yeah.
You can't pour from an empty cup. We didn't practice that part.
No, we didn't. I just decided that I wanted to do it like that. So
I'm here.
We're here in California, and we also have our amazing assistant in Ecuador, Andres. He's always sharing the links to our social media and different platforms. So thank you so much for being with us. Hi, David, Daniel, and Jorge. Thank you so much for being here in our English version of the energy you can pour from an empty cup.
If you're Spanish speaking or no Spanish speaking, we also provide all of our webinars in Spanish, and we just completed this energy webinar right before this in Spanish. And so we have a couple people that were in our Spanish webinar that are also popping on to say hi for this English webinar. So hi, David. Thank you for being here. If you pop in and you say hi in our chat, then we can see you and also shout out to you during our live presentation. We are connected here.
Okay, so we are very happy that we're here in our webinar. We know this is a very interesting time in our lives where we have to work and study from home, and we know all of the different challenges that are related to this, right? If you're a student and you are in front of the computer the entire day, if you're a teacher, you're doing the same thing, and if you're working, you're also doing this. So we understand that this is very challenging, and this is why we decided to provide these free webinars where we talk about some strategies, some tips that you can use in your classrooms, in your virtual classroom. You can use this as a student, as a teacher, a parent, and also in your companies, right? So we provide different tips that we can actually use across different places.
Definitely. And today's topic is a more general topic that's really applicable for anyone and everyone, regardless of age or profession. And so if you're a parent or teacher, if you're professional, this webinar today is for you.
Yes. Okay.
All right, here we go. So have you heard this phrase before about an empty cup, energy? Oh, all right, David, here for the English one. He usually watches the Spanish one. Okay. The phrase, you can't pour from an empty cup, it's talking about like what we have to give to others. And we're relating it to energy right now. So we have here the empty cup and the full cup. Or I actually have my cup here. And if we actually think about this metaphor, it doesn't really make that much sense once you start to dissect it.
And this is so interesting. So
Right.
Serena got this idea a couple days ago, and then she's talking to me about this. This makes no sense. This doesn't make any sense. And then she's talking about all of these different elements, and I get it. I get why this makes no sense. So go ahead, tell us.
Oh, good.
What was it like? It's like something from out of space came to you, and you're like, this makes no sense.
Right. Well, first of all, okay, if we're going to try to pour and the cup is all the way full, it's really hard to walk with the cup because it might splash out. Or if I'm going to try to pour from the really full cup,
It's going to spill, right?
It's going to spill.
Yeah.
And it's actually better to pour if it's not all the way full. If I'm talking about pouring and giving myself to other people. And while, yes, you cannot pour from an empty cup and you always have to refill your cup, well, in this metaphor, my cup has a certain size. So if I pour it in, I can actually overflow, and that's too much, and my cup can't hold it, and it spills everywhere, and it creates a big mess. So the positive things I'm putting in can be way too much and create a problem. And then, in this case, it's like, well, what am I sharing? What am I using out of my cup? If it's water, okay, maybe I just need a sip of water, you know. My throat's a little scratchy, okay? I'm fine. I don't need to drink the whole cup. And as soon as it's empty, gotta fill it all up again. Drink, 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 drink. Fill it all up again. Drink, 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 drink.
There are occasions where you need to drink the whole thing. I mean, yeah, you can think about that, but it's not like you have to pour that. I mean, why would you pour an empty cup?
And you do. There are occasions where you can pour from an empty cup, like pretend play with a child, and like, oh, here you go, here's some milk. I love pouring from empty cups with kids.
But no, it doesn't work when we're talking about energy, right?
We're talking about energy here and the idea of refilling up your cup. I get it. It's talking about how it goes lower and lower and lower. And okay, you got to put it back in before you can start giving more. I get it. But the cup idea doesn't make sense. All right? Is this my energy and it's for me? Or I'm only going to share it with others and I don't get any of it? I don't know. I don't like it.
Okay. So what's the idea is that instead of talking about this cup, we actually talk about a battery, right? So when I think almost all of us have a cell phone. I'm not going to say everyone because not everyone has a cell phone, but
maybe like 3-year-olds don't they? And a lot of 3-year-olds do have cell phones now.
In some countries they don't have cell phones. But anyway, that's another webinar. So you have your cell phone, you're going outside, you're doing all of these different things. Maybe that day you have to use Google Maps, and then you have to do some Zoom calls for a class or something like that. Okay, and then you can see the level of your charger, and at some point it's going to tell you that do you want to go into the safe mode? And
oh yeah.
I always say no. I don't know why.
Or it's funny when you're on a phone call with somebody else and it pops up and it's like, Christina's phone is almost dead, or it's going to shut off soon because the battery is extremely low.
And this will relate later with our talk, right? Like I can see that from the other person.
Yeah.
So interesting. We didn't have those before, right? Remember our first cell phones? We didn't have that.
Well, the first cell phone batteries lasted for days because you were only really using it like maybe to do a 1-minute phone call or text messages because it cost a lot and you didn't want to use it all up.
Yeah. And then your phone didn't have all of these technical things that it has now. So that's true. Now your phone is pretty much a computer now. But what we are using and how we are using this, it's going to reduce the battery. So some days you're gonna be okay, and some days you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, I've been using my phone for just 2 hours and I don't have battery.
Right, because we know that certain activities or certain apps are gonna use up a lot more of your battery. Like you said, any GPS, maps, streaming video. If your brightness is all the way up. So there's these little tricks, these little things that we know what to do in trying to reserve or make our battery last longer.
Yeah, that's true.
So we got to think about that. If we do that for our phone, we need to do that for ourselves. And the other thing is that if your battery dies, if your phone dies and turns off, to turn it back on, first of all, it's got to be plugged in for like a good minute or two before it actually even turns back on again. And then it takes a while. Even if you've got those fast charger ports, it still takes a couple hours at least to get full battery again. And that's for your phone, which they say it's a smartphone, but it's not smarter than you people. We made this. And this processing, even if it has thousands of processing happening at the same time, your brain has trillions of items being processed at the same time. It's not the same thing.
So how are we recharging ourselves? Okay, so this is the talk now. So, hi, Pablo. Welcome to our webinar. We're talking about energy, and we move from the cup to a battery because we think that the battery is actually a better example of how we can transfer this into our bodies. All right, you ready? Let's go.
Ready.
We are going to talk about 3 amazing elements that are so important in our lives. We're going to talk about the mental, emotional, I'm clicking and it's not working, and the physical.
So these are all different types of energy that we have. And these are all different types of batteries or energy that we have to recharge.
Yes. Okay, here we go. Mental energy. This is related to our thoughts, to our knowledge, and most of the time this is also related with our beliefs. We have a lot of thoughts every day. What is it, like 5,000 thoughts every day?
No, it's like...
Isn't like insane amount of thoughts?
It's like 60,000, 100,000 thoughts a day.
Oh, I was thinking about the...
You were thinking about this one.
No, I was thinking about the bad words that some people use.
Yeah. How many negative thoughts we have about ourselves is another webinar that we've done about our self-image and how we can influence our own perception by replacing a lot of these automatic negative thoughts with positive thoughts. So yeah, that was like 5,000 negative thoughts that a lot of people have every day, but we have like 150,000, lots and lots. I don't know how you could count that. I have no idea how you could count that.
Yeah, I don't know. But there's a lot of scientists doing all of this crazy research, so maybe they know what they're talking about. So mental energy is related with your thoughts, with your knowledge, with your beliefs. And in this, what implies is that the idea of making decisions, right? You have your thoughts, you learn about something, and then with that in place, you're going to make a decision. And we make small, simple decisions constantly. What type of shirt should I wear today? Should I take the umbrella today or not? Glasses, hair, earrings, so many different things, small things.
And a lot of these happen automatically without us putting much conscious thought into them, but it's still consuming mental energy that we have, even if it's a little bit of a subconscious processing that's going on. Now, most of the time during our day, we are requiring this mental energy because we have conversations with people, we are learning something, we're reading emails, we're watching TV, all of these things we are thinking about what is happening and what our reaction is in that situation.
You make a decision, right? We were talking about this in our previous webinar, that some of these are very simple, like washing dishes, taking showers, brushing your teeth. They become so part of who you are that you don't even pay attention to that. Like if you can think about the time when you learn what's 2 plus 2. At the beginning, a lot of energy in that, a lot of mental energy. You have to learn this, that has to become knowledge. And then later now, 2 plus 2 is 4. You know that. The same thing. You're taking a shower. You're not even, in that process, you're not thinking. You're probably thinking about something else when you're taking the shower.
Right, so you're using that time to process something else. And the thing is, like what you're talking about of that direct attention processing, we can't do that all the time. We can't, and we know that we're just gonna. That's like the GPS or the video streaming. It's like woo, it consumes our battery like that. Why? Because our attention is very, very limited, and we've used that all up. And what else do you have? Where we have now people having to learn all these different platforms and tools, and having to click on all these things, and I've never done this before. And if you have to do your job virtually, whether that's teachers or students, and parents, and if you have another job that you are doing remotely that you didn't do previously remotely, there's this huge learning curve, and this learning curve requires that direct attention energy. So you get tired, right? Even though maybe even you're working a little bit less, let's say you're not driving or going to the place, you don't have these other activities that are there, like breaks or lunchtime or things like that, and maybe even the amount of work hasn't changed, but it feels like so much more. Why? Because we have that direct attention, and it's really draining our batteries.
Yeah. So this is where we're talking about this, because we want to give you some suggestions of how you can recharge this. So mental energy, that was the first one. The second one, it's about the emotional energy.
So we had a webinar on Monday talking about our emotions and how it's really important to allow space for students to express themselves emotionally in the classroom, especially with virtual classrooms, because it's so different and they all have their own reactions to that. But our emotions, I need a sip. Whether we're happy, sad, or angry, it actually is very individualized. We can generally think that there are stereotypical things that make people happy, like
Puppies.
puppies.
Yeah.
Okay, most people enjoy puppies. I didn't know if you said puppy or poppy, like the flowers. Okay, well, they both work. Many people enjoy flowers, many people enjoy animals, but not everyone. And it could one day make me feel really happy and another day make me feel really sad if there's some memory attached to that. Or angry, you know, I love my dog, but I saw my dog tear apart my favorite shoes. I'm going to be angry at my dog. So this is very situational. It's very individualized. And that's really hard to support with because you have to know yourself. You really have to know, what are things that I know make me happy? Your school had an activity this week about like a happy thing, right? Like put the note on the computer. What was that?
Oh, yeah. So if you think about what is something that makes you happy, and then you just draw that on a piece of paper, and then you put it next to your computer or wherever you're sitting, and the moment that you're feeling like, you know, like something is going bad or you're feeling sad, you just look at that sticky note or that piece of paper just to see if that can boost you a little bit, right? Because, I mean, with all of the things that we are experiencing right now, maybe this, especially this feeling of feeling sad because you're inside of your house, it's constant. And this goes with
it's also really draining.
Yeah, what type of person are you? Like, how do you feel when you are with your friends or when you are with other people? You know, like, you also have to think about that. But with this emotion, sometimes we have, like, how we call it, the sixth sense.
It's the gut reaction. There's a good word in English for it.
Okay, you feel.
She didn't know how to say this in Spanish, really, but it's the butterflies in the stomach.
Butterflies in the stomach.
But for me, butterflies in the stomach is just that, like, emotional, that excited feeling, like usually related to a love interest, right? Before a date or something like that. But it's the same thing, right? The gut feeling, right? Most people feel it in their stomach. And it could be a negative one, right? You see a dark alley and you're like, ooh, there's something bad down there. Or little things, you know, you're thinking, should I sign this contract to buy something or not? You know, you have these, all of your subconscious memories and processes are happening, even if you're not aware of them, and that's your body and your brain telling you, like, I think I know how this is going to turn out, and it could turn out really well. And it's not to say your gut reaction is always right.
And you learn this with the pass of the years, right? Like, this is not something that when you're little you are into.
Hi, Holly.
This is something that we learn with the pass of the years, and you learn how to pay attention to that. And even with that, sometimes you make mistakes, right?
That's true. But they do say we need to be more connected to our intuition, to our gut feelings, because there is something there about that. There's something very raw. That's our protective mechanisms and how we developed as social beings. And speaking of being social beings, almost all of our emotions are connected to an interaction with people.
Yes.
So, you know, somebody said something that you didn't like, just passing on the street, and you have a reaction to it. It's not going to have the same weight as if it were like a family member saying it, but all of these things, how I feel about something, is because I had an experience that I shared with another person.
And this is so challenging. We also had a webinar that is about empathy, right? Because empathy, it's so, most people don't really understand what empathy is, and I feel like most people are using it in a way that it's not the correct one. Because empathy, it's not just like that. It's not like I want to be in your shoes and I want to understand your point of view. It doesn't work like that.
Right, and it's true. Like, you're never going to understand what I'm feeling. It's true. Like, if person that has cancer and other people that don't have cancer, nobody's ever going to know what that's like. The empathy side of it is, I see you're going through something really awful. And I know how I felt when I went through something really awful. So I can share in me bringing up that memory for me and try to have that joint shared feeling in this case to try to then support each other and come out of it.
And it's challenging because we can't see feelings, right?
And a lot of times we can't even verbalize them.
Yeah, I mean, you could see some people who are really good at masking their feelings, right? Like, how are you today? Oh, I'm doing very well. But the thing is completely the opposite.
Oh, I had this time. I remember this one time where it was like, things at my job were really challenging, but I woke up this morning and I'm like, okay, it's gonna be a good day. And I go to school and I'm like, yay! So I was a teacher, and they're like, okay, I'm gonna have a good day. And another teacher sees me and he's like, Serena, are you okay? You look terrible. I felt so bad. Totally changed my mood.
Yes. Okay, so emotional energy related with how we connect with people, and it's challenging because feelings are challenging. If you're happy or sad, or if you're angry or you're upset, all of these feelings are very challenging to understand from others' perspective, right?
It's true. And we don't want to be uncomfortable. Like, we are programmed to do things easy and to have everything be nice and smooth. And so if I see that you're uncomfortable, I'm not going to try to open up this can of worms and let all this come out. We swallow it down a lot because it's hard.
I like this. How are you today? And you are expecting the other person just to tell you good. And that's the end of the conversation. But then tell them how you actually feel, especially if you're not in a good mood. And then you'll see if they actually care about you. I mean, it's challenging. This is very challenging. Right. All right. So emotional energy, it's something that connects us, but also something that can drain our energy. Right? If a person is telling you constantly about negative things that are happening to to this person, then what is your position in front of this? Like,
that's true.
I'm like, oh, this sucks, COVID-19. I can't go outside, and I can't go to restaurants, and I don't, and it's just negative constantly. It's draining you.
Right, and it's true. I might be supportive for that person, but if every interaction you have with this person is constantly draining your energy, and you have to go and find other ways to refill and recharge, that's a challenging relationship. And so there might be some need for bringing up how to fix that a little bit.
All right, and the third one is
our physical.
Yes.
Let's get physical. Physical.
No? Okay. Yes, physical energy. And I think we pay more attention to this one because it's more obvious. I mean, it's physical, right? We exercise, we have good diets, we do all of these things to look better, good, so then others can see us in that way. We put a lot of energy in this one.
Right, and it has a lot to do with appearance and how we portray ourselves. This is our body, our physical, touchable self. So in this case, the outside has a lot of importance for most people. How we look, how we act, how we carry ourselves throughout the day. And then the inside would be a physical body, like our digestive system, our lungs, our heart, and all of these things. So we can put a lot of energy in that too, with focusing on what we eat, if we're drinking water, and all these things that we know. People know what to do to be more healthy, to have more energy. They know, okay, it's good to exercise. It makes me stronger, and that gives me more energy.
And then if I'm running and at some point I'm like, oh, okay, I have to stop because I'm hungry and I need water. I need to take a rest, you know? Like you pay more attention to this because it's more obvious to you. If your stomach hurts, okay, I have to do something with that. But now that we're talking about this, we're going to put all of this together. All of these three types of energy are so important and they are intertwined.
Yeah.
And for some reason, most people pay attention just to the last one.
That's true.
So how are we going to recharge? How are we going to do this, Serena?
So let's go backwards. We talked about physical. It's the most obvious to most people. And then what's the most obvious way to recharge? Is to go to sleep. We have to recharge. You know, our bodies will shut down and they'll be like, nope, we're done. You need to sleep.
But sometimes I wake up and I'm still tired.
Yeah, because sleep in itself is really only recharging your physical energy. You're not, you're not moving, and so your muscles have time to repair, and your blood flow and your metabolism is there.
The digestion.
Your digestion.
Okay.
And so all of those systems have their own rhythms when we sleep. But the emotional and mental energies, or your batteries, aren't necessarily recharged in sleep, which is how a lot of people can wake up after a full night's sleep, supposedly, and feel tired, feel exhausted. Are they waking up every hour because they're thinking about something? What can we do to try to help this? We'll get into the emotional and mental recharge ideas in just a minute, but the physical. So sleep is the most obvious, you know, having a rest, sitting down, but also thinking like, so I'm walking around, that's going to start depleting my physical energy, but it actually might support my other energies. And so everything has a cost, and there's all these balances here. So we have to try to balance it, because even though physically my body will not let me go without sleep, and beyond a certain number of hours, and there's studies that have been done about this, where they'll see the effects of waking people up right before they go into REM sleep, or not allowing people to sleep. And it's the same as like high blood alcohol content levels, or entering into some sort of manic depressive state, mental health concerns. If you don't sleep, your body will physically shut you down and be like, we're done. Sometimes
you see people around you who are grumpy. They're grumpy all the time. And I wonder if that's because they're not, physically, maybe they're kind of sleeping, but emotionally and mentally they're not. Because, like you're saying, if you can't sleep, and if you've ever done something like this, if you can't sleep, there's a certain point that you don't want anyone to touch to you.
That's true.
So I was working at this hotel when I was very young, and I did the, buffet?
The banquet
hall. And that was a crazy time in my life. I was very young, so I was like, I can do this. So I just put all of these hours, 23 hours straight, then I slept for 5 hours, then 23 hours again.
Wow.
But it was at some point, I remember, maybe 13, 14 hours, I couldn't function. So what I did, I had Coke mixed with coffee, which only, I don't know what it does. It's like a boost, so you can't close your eyes, but you can't think. And if somebody is trying to talk to me, I'm like, ready to fight, right? It was crazy. So then imagine a life like that without recharging yourself. Because I was not recharging anything.
People have a lot of sleep problems in general, but they're just thinking about the physical side in this case, or they're looking at these external solutions, but they're not solutions. They're basically like Band-Aids that aren't really addressing the actual issues, because people can go days, weeks, months, years without ever recharging their mental and emotional batteries. And that's really, we get really concerned, because we have these rhythms and we have these flows, and all three of these areas vary for each person, right? Physically, I know physically I'm not really awake to exercise early in the morning. I'm yawning and I'm just not even there. I'm still kind of sleeping. But then if I want to exercise in the evening, I'm like really giving it my all. Yeah, physically I'm a lot more present to exercise the later hours than the earlier hours. And the same goes for a lot of people with their mental energy. There's the early birds that like to do a lot of their big tasks and priorities first thing in the morning, and then they like to go to sleep early. And then the night owls,
that's me.
You're the early bird. And so thinking about that, knowing yourself, if you are a night owl and you do all your best work at night and all of it's flowing and you can get a ton done in a very short amount of time, well then trying to prioritize and do your big things first thing in the morning, probably not going to work that well. You're probably going to take 3, 4, 5, 10 times the amount of time to complete those activities as if you were doing it instead of if you were doing it later, because your body rhythms, your brain rhythms don't work well then. That's just who you are. Yes. So make adjustments. We can try to get a lot done when we know that we have greater attention and mental energy with those rhythms of the day.
Yeah. And now I know it's not the best. This COVID-19 for me provides a lot of great opportunities. And I know, depending on your job, maybe you can't do anything about this. Maybe you have to get up in the morning and you have to do all of these things in the morning, but talk to your boss about this, right? Like, you can now that we are working in this virtual thing, maybe there's a solution. Okay, I'm not going to start working until 10 a.m. and then I'm going to work until 7 p.m. Okay, maybe that's going to work. Instead of, agonizing in the morning and trying to do something and you're not there, and then people are drinking a lot of coffee to wake up, and maybe it's not working because like you are saying, knowing what type of person you are is going to help you.
Right. And those are all of our rhythms, but thinking about some strategies to put in place to help. Well, the mental are our thoughts. So technically recharging the mental is turning off our thoughts. And there are some really ancient practices around this related to yoga or meditation,
Tai Chi.
But even the act, this is the zone, and there's some people that talk about this zone, is when you get into something, and this could be walking for some people. They're just going on a walk outside, and they get into this zone where they're not thinking about anything. Nothing else exists. Some people might be drawing or painting or knitting, and people could be talking to you. You have no idea, right?
Yeah.
That's the zone. That's the mental. Hi, Mariah. That's the mental zone for recharging your mental battery here. That it's hard to get into, but we could think about certain practices like intentionally having a couple breaths and just counting your breaths. Or if you are focused on working on something, you're writing up this really important email, or you have to do this thing for your job, and you're focusing on it, and then bing, something else comes in your head. Ooh, I gotta buy this for dinner tonight. Ooh, I gotta write this email. Ooh, I'm supposed to call my mom. All these things that come up. It's one strategy to help try to sort your brain and to be able to compartmentalize or categorize your thoughts is the sticky note, or just having a side paper next to what you're doing, and if a thought pops up in your head, you write it down, and then you go right back to what you're doing, and then zoop, another thing, okay, whoop, back to what I'm doing. It's there. Your brain can now release the attention and the focus on that thing because you're not going to forget it.
Yeah, and it's so crazy because right now we have all of this type of technology that give us all of this information really fast all the time. And that's not healthy, right? So you are working and then clink something on Facebook, clink something on Twitter, news, and maybe some people work with the TV on or with the radio on. So you have to be able to, at some point, just cut all of that.
Right.
So maybe even not having your phone for 1 hour.
Well, if you're really focused, some people can just ignore all of that. And there are people that prefer to study with music on or work with music on. It's not distracting. It actually helps them get into the zone better. But everyone's different.
Hi, Martika. Thank you for coming to our webinar. So, yes, but like I'm saying, maybe not having the phone will help. Maybe not having the TV on will help. Because what we want is we want you to understand how to recharge your mental part.
Yes.
Right? We talk about the physical, we're talking about the mental, but
and if it's that, like if you know when you go for a walk, and if you're just going on your walk for a little bit,
I like how you walk.
This is my walk. And then you can get into that zone. Well, then try to prioritize that. If it can't be every day, then thinking about, can I do this twice a week? And it doesn't have to be for an hour necessarily, but just trying to set some little goals of like, I want to take 2 walks for 30 minutes this week.
Yeah.
And then did you do it?
Yeah.
And how did you feel? And if it was really good for you, then let's do a little bit more.
I really like that you use the word prioritize, because that's what we need right now. We need to prioritize ourselves physically, mentally, emotionally. If we don't do that, we're going to collapse with all of these things that are happening. So the next one, the emotional one, so intense because it's like happy, sad, and all of this right now is like a roller coaster, right? Like you're happy, you're sad, you're angry, you're frustrated, you're very excited, you're learning something new. All of this is...
your emotional battery is really, really low, you're going to have big reactions to small things.
Yeah.
And I've been there. This is like that anxiety response and high tension where, things were really, really crazy at work and I was really tense, and then just like something little, like somebody dropping something on the floor, and I'm like, and I had a big emotional response because I hadn't been putting back and recharging my emotional battery, and I was drained.
Yeah, and this, if you can think about yourself, what do you enjoy the most? Being connected with people, or you recharge when you are not with people, right? Because understanding that is also going to help you.
And that's the big piece about introverts and extroverts. It's not about, introverts can't be around people. It's introverts, even though they might even enjoy being around people, have to exert a lot more energy. It's very draining for them. So they recharge by being by themselves. Versus extroverts, and there's obviously a big range here, but extroverts, obviously, also they can enjoy being around other people, but they recharge by being with other people, and being alone might be draining for them.
And like in your case, this time when you were working with your kids, even in this Hi Steffi, even in this virtual classroom, right? You're working with your students. I can see the joy in you, like you recharge by being with your students. It's challenging, but somehow you get that energy from them. And I remember that time when you were the time when you were not working with kids, but you were working more in the admin side, and you were not there. I mean, it felt like you were tired every single day. Why? Because in your case, you recharge by being with others, with your students. So,
or if I do a summer camp and I've got a ton of kids around me, Christina's like, you're getting younger every day. What's going on? I just got all this energy.
Yeah, so, understanding who you are, what is something that makes you really happy, how do you recharge your emotional side, your mental side, your physical side, it's going to help you right now, not just in this working virtually, but in anything that you're doing. If we go back to the next normal, then we are going to use all of this again.
Yeah. And with the emotional side, you don't have to share with others or talk about it necessarily, but you do need to get it out, because the more we hold in, the more it drains our battery. And so even these little strategies, like the notes, is more for the mental side, but you could do journaling and having, just 2 minutes at the beginning of the day, end of the day or something, and to write down your thoughts from the day, just to get it out. You might not ever read it again, it's fine. You might just doodle. Maybe you want to draw something or paint something. Again, knitting, if you're getting in the zone, it could also be an emotional recharge for you. And you're sitting down, so it's a physical recharge. And it's all in one.
Well, all of these are intertwined.
They are. It's really hard to separate. So with this, it's thinking about one thing. It's not trying to do everything all at once, but really thinking about yourself and thinking about, all of these 3 energy pillars. What's one where you want to focus on a little bit more this week, and think about what's one thing I can try to do for me. And this is the empty cup thing, but it's not the empty cup, it's your batteries. You gotta recharge your batteries in order for you to continue functioning and to function at your best. Because we know a computer that has 8 billion tabs open and you haven't recharged, you haven't shut it off in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, maybe longer. You just always close it and never actually shut it off for it to reboot and clear out all of its RAM. It's going to go really slow. And the same thing can happen for us.
Yeah.
Right? If you're reading something and you're not there and you reread it, and you're like, I don't have any idea of what it is I'm reading right now. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Come on, let's think about that.
Yeah, think about yourself, right? You need to recharge your 3 batteries right now. You have to do it. Focus on one that you know that it needs more attention, and try to do something small for you this week. Okay, today, tonight. Don't wait, because it is important. The way that you are treating yourself is how you project to others, and also it helps you in everything, right? If you're a teacher and you're not recharged, how can you give this great presentation? Even if you have all of these amazing things that you created and did, and all of that, still, how are you going to do it if you're really tired? So think about yourself.
And it's a paradox. So stop putting it off, saying, I have no time. Because the more time you put into yourself, the more time you will have. Even though it is taking away time from your other things, it will be so much more time in the other things you need to do. Why? Because you're more effective. Just like we know to read an email, let's say a pretty long email. If you're there and you're in the zone, you can go ding, 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 and read that email in 1 minute. Or if you're not there, it could take you 10 minutes, the entire day. You keep going back. I don't remember. What was it? I keep going back. All of that time wasted because you are not recharged is actually duplicated when you give yourself time. That's what self-care is all about. We talk about self-care all the time. What does it mean? It doesn't mean doodling. It doesn't mean coloring. It means knowing what is recharging for you.
Yes, it is different for everyone. That's why all of these recipes from doctors and medicine.
Oh, recipes. I love cooking. That is my mental recharge. I don't think about anything. I just cook.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. She's there. And cleaning sometimes.
You're more the cleaning side. She likes the dishes.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, thank you so much. This is our webinar about energy, and we change it to, it's not a cup, it is a battery, because now you know that you need to recharge yourself. Okay, 3 different pillars for you. Which one is the one that you're going to focus tonight? And if you have any question, if you have a comment, if you have suggestions for our next webinars, please write us here on Facebook. You can also go to our account on YouTube, Twitter. We're always here to support you. So thank you so much for being with us. My name is Christina.
I'm Serena.
And we are the founders of the company Teachers Who Tech. We will see you next Monday.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.